So on today's show, we're talking about subscriptions in business, kind of the shift in focus towards subscriptions. And I'm joined today with Tanner O'Brien, Carter Krei. Gentlemen, thanks for joining. Let's talk about subscriptions.
Let's do it.
Yes, let's.
So, man, from reading in books to kind of seeing how the economy has shifted in business to recently, as quite literally like this week, Paramount and Showtime kind of coming together and saying we used to be two different services that you could buy individually. Now we're going to be one, to the Disney bundle. Subscriptions are kind of a way of life today. It's interesting to me when you look at the subscriptions that you subscribe to, what do you tend to focus on for where you put your dollars?
Everywhere. It's like most things are subscription. It's easier that way, but probably more than I even realize.
What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like subscriptions seem to be the first thing I go towards when I'm looking for stuff. I mean, whether it's entertainment or education or whatever, it's always subscription model. But then it also seems to be the first thing I look to cut when I need to reduce costs, which is a weird place to be.
Last year, Netflix. So they increased their prices mid-year, and within 4 months, from April to July, they lost 1 million subscribers, which was like 0.4%, 0.5%, essentially is what it was. So it wasn't like a big deal, but they paid attention to it for the same reason, because people were like, oh, I'm starting to cut down. And if you're going to increase my prices. So what do? They come out and they go, well, you know what? We hear you. We'll give you a lower price point and we're going to add ads. And then within 3 months, last 3 months of the year, they gained 7 million. So they had lost 1 million. And then when they made that change, they added 7 million. And I'm like, isn't that interesting? People used to go, I don't want cable. I want to be able to record my stuff so I can skip through ads. And now they're like, if it means it's a lesser price, I'll just watch them. I find it interesting.
I think that's the benefit of that product ladder model, right? I mean, I'm looking at what we're trying to do and also the subscriptions I'm going for, and finding that if I can cut costs by wasting 30 seconds, which I do on YouTube anyways, which is free, what's the big deal? Going back to the mean we were at.
It is fascinating. I was actually thinking about this the other day as we were watching, it was something on like through Prime. They've got some shows that they do that are on like another platform that has ads, and so that we can kind of get some of that other content. And it, like, we sit there and every single time I contemplate, why am I still watching this show? I hate ads. Like, I will be the one that would never go towards the service that has ads. Like, I don't care if it's a few bucks more. Like, I'm going to go with the one that doesn't require ads. I want easy. I want convenient. I want to be able to watch my shows straight through. I find it so frustrating, and it's, that's my perspective. It's just I'd rather go for, the top tier stuff and just simple, easy, convenient, rather than anything else. I'd rather lose a platform altogether than have an ad supported version.
What's the book? Is it Subscribed or Oversubscribed? The one that talks about how products are turning into services. And you think about service-based businesses. When I started thinking about all the subscriptions, because there's actually services now that will tabulate all your subscriptions and then go like, here's how much you're paying. Here's what you could be paying if you were to like consolidate or reduce or whatever it might be. And I started thinking about how many product-based subscriptions I have. So Tanner, you actually sent me an article, I think earlier this week, where it was the Dollar Shave Club. And I'm fairly certain I subscribed like in their first week of opening. I've been a subscriber for a while. And certain products you can't turn into services. Like, you can't turn a razor into a service by means of like actually just providing a service. The service becomes a subscription, and I need the physical product. And they were brilliant with it. They were probably one of the first to really get it, in my opinion. Then you look at what's the other one? Oh, Fabletics, clothes. Where they said, everyone's, most places you need clothes at least. And they're like, how do we turn this into a subscription? And so they targeted Lululemon clients and said, or customers, and we're like, well, we'll give you the same quality. We just want you to pay us on a monthly basis, and you get, whatever choice of clothes you want. Did you guys ever see the automotive subscriptions that came out years ago?
No.
So
it's ringing a bell. Tell us more.
It was in like 2016, 17. Cadillac and Audi were the first to kind of come out, and they're like, okay, we're going to create a subscription. They wanted to test the waters. Eventually, different like Mercedes came out with them and whatnot, and most of them kind of died off or got repurposed. Audi ended up buying Silvercar, and which was a service actually here in Austin. They started here locally, and it was like a kind of like a rental subscription based Audi. All they had was silver Audis. That's why they call it Silvercar. Audi buys them, and last year renamed it Audi On Demand. And Cadillac had one that they started in New York and California. Where have you heard the car rental company called Sixt? SIXT. It was actually pretty surprising to me, because I was like, all these rental companies, they're not going with the subscription model, which I don't understand. They already have the inventory, and they already kind of have a pseudo subscription model anyways. So with Sixt, you can anything from a Nissan to a BMW and everything in between. You choose what level of subscription you want, and you get that car, and every 30 days you can change your car pretty much. And Cadillac kind of came out with the same thing. It was called, I forget what theirs was called. Audi On Demand now. You have these different automotive companies who are like, okay, how do we tackle this subscription where it really is, and there's no down payment, and unlike a lease, you're not liable for wear and tear or maintenance on the car, all those type of things. You get a crack on the windshield, you say, here's your car back, give me a new one. And I'm like, to me that's brilliant, because you could like, I like a car, and my family's going to go on a vacation next month, and we're going to take a road trip. So we're going to turn in the car for next month for the SUV. So you can like literally, you can choose based off of your actual needs, which I find brilliant as a subscription. You get what I'm saying there? Like, think about what that could mean for different products.
Oh yeah. It's the ultimate form of renting. I mean, none of the overhead and worry about ownership, all of it on really a renting model, but without all the frustration and pain that comes with normally going to like a rental place. It is really interesting. And I think we're starting to see some of that type of stuff more and more, right? I mean, outside of just cars, but Airbnb is almost a similar type service. I mean, it's people are renting out their homes on it's not a subscription model that I'm aware of yet, but could it be? Like, who wouldn't do that? I mean, I have to imagine there's a market for people that would pay a subscription to be able to access certain level of homes anywhere across the country or world.
You take hospitality as a bucket. You think about cruises, hotels, Airbnb, you think about all those. What would a subscription look like for that? Like, if I could have a subscription to a cruise, I'd be in it all day. I'm serious. Like, you think about that. Like, how do you turn, and it's interesting, before we started recording, we were talking about how right now Austin is shut down because of ice. And so many businesses are completely shut down. Their employees are at home. They're out of revenue for the day, for the week. And yet, what doesn't lose revenue? Subscriptions.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where I'm actually working with one of my clients right now, trying to set up a subscription-based program for delivering supplies to work sites, where the contractor pays their subscription fee, and you just in the app type in, you need this kind of screw, and the guy, master of the hardware store, just delivers them to the site, kind of thing, pairing it up with current Uber drivers and those sort of things that would be already out there looking for stuff. And how do we turn this into a model in town?
That's awesome. I mean, you got to imagine that, especially if you think about different industries, like construction as an industry, and we're now the subscription for that industry. You could scale that exponentially.
Yep. And with the poor communication between subcontractors and those sort of things to provide the solution for that as well, it opens a lot of doors. And so it seems like there's a lot of opportunity for subscriptions in areas where people already have it and are not going to go without it. Paying for runners to go to stores, paying for a car, those sort of things make a lot of sense for a subscription if you're already investing in that area. It gets a little bit harder when you're running those subscriptions for the fun to have things. Like, have you guys seen Bespoke Post?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Literally just boxes of stuff that you find interesting.
You never know what's showing up at your door that month.
Yeah, I would find that hard to maintain the value as if times are to get tougher for people. How do you maintain that versus a car, which you need to generate revenue for the most part?
Yeah, it's interesting. And I think that, if we kind of take this to its next phase of the conversation, that's what does this look like for the business, right? I mean, we know that there's solutions to be solved with subscription styles for the end user, but as a business, how do you make it work? How do you make it profitable? Because some are going to, pick up and work right away. Others really need to understand, like that type of a service. What are the risks to it? At what point does it become this could lose us a lot of money versus make us a lot of money?
You kind of look at innovation, you look at the relationships that you're building, you look at the convenience of it and the price point, and you go, okay, so as a business, which one's the sword you fall on, right? When you think about non-subscription based businesses, I use automotive a lot because I used to have a lot of automotive clients. There's a reason why Volkswagen has Audi. There's a reason why Toyota has Lexus, because they're like, okay, this is the mass market brand. This is the niche brand. You look at this as a business and you go, well, what do different tiers of, Carter, you mentioned a minute ago, the ladder of your services. Well, what does that look like? Because one of the reasons why I stay to this day as a subscriber to Dollar Shave Club, I shave a whole lot less than I used to. And I look at this and I go, it's because they allowed me to change. Had I been stuck in the one thing, I would have canceled long time ago. But they allowed me to go, you know what? I only need new razors every 4 months now, or every 6 months. And because of that, while they got less of my money, they keep getting my money.
And as long as they have it systemized correctly, there's no real difference on their end. It's just the frequency at which it ships. So it comes back to building those systems in your business that can scale up or down based on the demand of your client.
Systems. What a wing of the business. And you think about properly scaling for this to be profitable. For a lot of subscription-based companies, you have to go at scale to be profitable. Like some of these you can't do in small quantities. You have to go at mass to be able to increase that bottom line. And if you don't hit that you're wasting money, really, because you're going to lose it.
Yeah, there's definitely some optics that are needed if you're in business and you're starting to look at how do I create something that's subscription style, right? It becomes that, what is the number of subscriptions needed to cover all the costs? What is that break even number? And then how long is it going to take to get there? Is it one massive launch that you get kicked off and you get all that revenue in the first month? Or is that going to take, 4, 5, 6, 8, 12 months to get there? And then, is the marketing wheel strong enough? Is there a strong enough referral system that's going to continue to bring people in at a faster rate than they fall off? Because we know that every subscriber, we've already talked about it, right? There's is a fall off rate. There's a churn rate. There's times get tough and I may cancel or downgrade some subscriptions, and being able to forecast that there's a bit of an art to it, I believe.
Oh, definitely. And being able to properly forecast your average lifetime value for each customer, to be able to properly forecast what's our average retention in months. And okay, how that means that for every 10 that we add in the first blank months, we're losing this number of them. And how does that affect our numbers? And how do you continue to add value? How do you continue to showcase value to those that so that way they stay? I'm curious, what is each of your favorite subscriptions that you have?
I think there's a couple answers to that, right? I mean, Disney Plus was huge because it had Bluey for my kids.
And it had Hulu, and it has ESPN Plus if you so choose.
There's no more value than something that I can put my kids in front of for 35 minutes and have some quiet. But
we're gonna get letters on that comment.
I love my kids. I'd say right now it's Amazon Prime because of all the value that they've been able to build into it. If you want to talk about membership model, that's got to be one of the first that's done it excellently. It started as 2-day shipping, and now it's everything. It is everything. And so that would probably be the one. I mean, the fact that they have increased price, but focus primarily on adding value versus bundling or adding lower options. It's what if we just give you more by scale?
Yeah, that's interesting because I kind of forgot about Amazon Prime as a subscription service because I think we pay annually, so it comes out once a year. So I don't think about it as a subscription as much. And but they are definitely the volume play. How many things can we put into this, right? Versus I think of all the first things that went to my head on which ones are all streaming services, which is crazy. But HBO, and I absolutely will, it's a hill I would die on in terms of like what streaming services are the best and why is that? It's because they create really, really, really good content and don't go for the volume play. They don't do as much. And that's kind of how they started into this streaming world. Now they're doing a bit more volume when they shifted over to HBO Max and that sort of thing. But I saw yesterday, I think The Last of Us is now like the 4th show that HBO has that has like, was it like 17 million viewers per episode or something crazy like that? I don't know the exact number. But it's because they produce really good content versus just the volume play. So there's like the value piece on how strong is the value for what you're paying for versus how much stuff can I give you and just blow that piece up like Amazon does. Which, I mean, there's inherent value and they've grown in their ability, but they've had to do it over time with scale, right? They couldn't do that from day one, but now they can do. We'll have it there in 4 hours if you spend $25 or more.
Yeah, and I think you can look at the different focuses that they've had, right? HBO is they want the raving customer, like you're talking about. You die on that hill, versus Amazon's gotten to the point where we forget it exists because it's part of our daily life. It's gotten so much of a membership that you can't exist without it for a lot of people. It's an interesting differentiation of what we're focusing on.
It's it's amazing when you think. I just had this thought. I'm like, if I didn't have Amazon Prime and I couldn't get something in 2 days, what would I do? I'd get in my car and I'd actually go buy it, which is crazy, right? There's not another service I would go to. I would just take the extra time and go to the store and actually buy it.
They own Whole Foods, which we have here. And the first time I remember walking in to pay, and it was like, oh, you just scan your Amazon app. I was like, wait, what? And now you go in and you scan your palm. It literally reads your palm, and that's how you pay. And I'm like, Amazon is in everything. They have, I don't know how they do it, but it's kind of creepy. You walk in and it's just, I'll never forget. I was at an Adobe conference in, probably back in 2015 or 16. And they were talking about how Amazon was testing in like the San Francisco area, Bay Area. They were testing, you could walk in, you just put things in your cart and you walk out. Mm-hmm. And it knows exactly who you are. It knows what you have. There's no cashier. There's no register, which is an interesting thing too. When you think about subscriptions, we haven't talked about this, which is it's humanless. What's the term, right? It's like, you don't have to have human to human interaction for a lot of these. And they're looking to more and more because through automation, to probably increase profitability, they're taking more and more of the humans out of a lot of this stuff, which I find absolutely fascinating.
Well, it also goes along with modern demographics of saying the next generation that comes up has less preference for that human-to-human interaction. So it plays into the future proofing as well.
Generational changes are an interesting thing to study when you kind of see like what each generation strives for and why they strive for and those type of things. Mm-hmm. My 15-year-old the first time he told me that he has no desire to have a driver's license. And I'm just like, that was a rite of passage. Like I was like, as the day I was like 15 and 9 months or whatever the threshold was, I was there. I was taking the test to get my permit. He's like, yeah, I'll wait until the car can just drive me. That's his response. He's like, I'll just wait until it's full automated driving. That way it can just drive me. I'm like, kid. He's like, yeah, I don't care. I just like,
fascinating.
Right? I look at this and I'm like, generational changes really are interesting, and seeing what motivates people in different ways. And, they said in the next 5 years, I think it is 50%, over 50% of the workforce will be millennial or younger.
Mm-hmm.
And so businesses have to start understanding how to recruit and attract and retain a new generation of employee, essentially. And I'm like, yeah, Levi, my oldest, he's like, if I can't work from home, why would I? Right? Like, he has no desire to go anywhere. What does that mean?
Can I pose a question to you both, just to get your thoughts? This came to mind. I don't even know if it makes sense, but on the topic of subscriptions, do you think we'll end up, seeing a form of subscription for the modern employee? Like, will there be employees that are either have a subscription of jobs that they do, or, as an employer, you've got a subscription for employees, and I don't know exactly what it would look like, but could we see the subscriptionification of the workforce?
That's interesting. I could totally see it. I think because you have inklings of it in different ways, like unions and things like that.
Temp agencies.
I could totally see that, though, where it's, I'm not an employee of a business. I'm an employee of a type of job, and I may go do it in 4 different places this month, type thing. Because they don't care. It's interesting because think about stability. Like, the reason why generations older than us, they were like, I'm going to go to university. I'm going to get a piece of paper that says I know how to do this job. I'm going to go do this job until I hit 65, and then I'm retiring. That was life. They needed stability for it. And today's person graduating from high school, they're like, I don't care about going to college. There's plenty of different ways I can go make income on my own without needing an employer. So screw y'all. And I'm only going to take a job if I really, really think I'm going to love it. Right. That's just, it's a totally different way to think through it. So I could totally see where the workforce becomes a subscription.
And it seems like we've gone to almost everything but that right now. I mean, if you look at shared workspaces and you look at Upwork and all these places where you can already go and essentially buy one-offs, it's just the next logical step to say, well, what if you paid Upwork $20 a month and you get one project? They could easily turn it into a subscription model.
They really could. Then you got to go back to Tanner, your original point, which is profitability. How does that affect bottom line profitability for an organization? One of my mentors early on owns a bunch of companies, and one of the reasons why every single year he went to his leadership team and he said, what's the one service that we have that we're paying the most to hire another vendor to go do for us? And at the end of every year, they'd say, okay, this last year, what was the thing that we had to vendor out the most this year? And he said, we're just going to create our own company to do it, to maintain profitability and maintain the quality, because they're employees now. So then you go to, okay, if we go subscription based, it has the opposite effect, where all of a sudden you are really dependent on something like Upwork or a service to provide the quality that you're truly looking for. And I'm sure there would be ways that they would probably have to rank their contractors and stuff like that to keep quality high. But really, you go back to relationship then in a subscription. Your relationship is with the company, not the employee. Which company am I going to subscribe to for my employees?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a whole new business model for, well, I guess, for both sides of the equation. But this is a fascinating thought experiment. Now I kind of want to put it down on like paper and figure out what would it take? Like, would you have to be a certain size business to be able to take advantage of it? You know, similar to launching any other subscription business, would you have to have a certain level that makes it profitable? And if you're, I don't know, say you're doing 300,000-400,000 in revenue per year, do you hit that cap? Do you not? Is it unprofitable until you achieve a certain level of sales? Or be interesting to kind of see how that plays out. And then you've got the entire interpersonal side of things. I've talked to a few different leaders, business leaders now that, now everybody's moving back to working in the office. And there was a lot of that missing from just the office environment and having other people around and bouncing off ideas and all of that kind of stuff that just doesn't quite happen, even if we're doing things virtually. Does that get missed in this type of an environment, or is it really that point where people are only staying at jobs for 2-3 years anyway, and then they're moving on to something else, and now they have an opportunity to test out a whole bunch of different stuff? Can you learn faster doing that?
Take this conversation a slight deviation and think about AI. And how many of these jobs in the next 5 to 10 years will be done by artificial intelligence, not by actual individuals. And I mean, you're already seeing it in so many places, right? I mean, Chat GPT added, a million subscribers faster than anybody in any of those. Yeah, all three of us are subscribers of Chat GPT. And which is why they're going to start charging for it now. Like they came out like, pretty much overnight they hit 1 million. It took, and you can see the stats, like it took Facebook this many months, and it took Netflix this many years, and it took YouTube and like all these things. And they were just like overnight. And it is smarter than us. It's smarter than us. You can say, I want an article written on this topic in this person's tonality. Mm-hmm. And it goes, oh, okay, yeah, I'll do that. It was actually kind of funny. If you ever seen the Ryan Reynolds, what's his Mint Mobile commercial where he's like, we had Chat GPT write this, and they told it to write it in the tone of Ryan Reynolds and add one joke in, and it did it, and then he just read it. And I'm like, it's brilliant. So you think about, okay, what jobs will actually still be like truly needed in 5 to 10 years?
Versus with subscriptions like Bespoke Post, where it's for entertainment and for enjoyment, that's not actually a necessity. It goes back to the blitz scaling book. Are we scaling past these issues we're talking about right now? Are we solving a problem that won't exist in 5 years?
That's interesting.
It is.
We should get paid for all these plugs on books. All these authors should say thank you.
Oh, they can sponsor the podcast.
There you go.
We have a subscription sponsorship model.
Yes, as of 30 seconds ago when you stated it.
That's right. Carter, is that a chessboard on your wall?
Yeah. I have a wall-mounted chessboard. I taught my 5-year-old daughter how to play chess, and she can beat my wife now.
Wow. I'm not sure if I'm more impressed by your 5-year-old or sad for your wife.
Well, you can be both.
So subscriptions. Do you see a future where they kind of fade away?
I think we're going to see a bunch of consolidations. I mean, we're already starting to see that, right? The example you gave at the beginning was that Showtime and
Paramount Plus.
And I think that the headline or first part of the text of that is in an effort to be profitable. They can't have everybody competing for the exact same space and do that type of model and expect everybody to be profitable. It's mostly unrealistic. So I think we're going to start seeing clear winners and clear, I call them amplifiers. Like who can I partner with and bring aboard so that we can continue to be a really sustainable model. Obviously we'll see this probably in the streaming services first. They've been around probably the longest, but that would be my guess is we probably start to see more mergers of those types of companies coming together, and then the best of the best will survive. Now, does that mean that it just ends up looking like it did, 10 years ago? Maybe there's a version of it, but now all of a sudden you don't have to have a box in your room, and you can just go watch it anywhere. At least we got to the same end result that I desired. But that'd be my guess. Is I don't think they're necessarily going to go away or fade. I think there's just going to be less of them, but they're going to be much greater value.
I think that probably makes sense. I'll be interested to see what are the key traits that lead to those winners. If you look back through the history of television, how it boiled down to just a few primary options, is it going to be, I talked about Bluey with my kids. Is it going to be like one dedicated for kids? Like this is the streaming service for kids, and, pairing Paramount and Showtime, that's more your mature audiences and those sort of things. Are we going to have more diversification like that? Or are they going to integrate wholly? Are we going to have 3? I mean, what's the number this is going to end at? I'll be interested to see.
That's a really good point.
Eventually, we're just going to end up back with cable without the actual cable. That's what's going to happen.
All this to get rid of some wires.
But if they can, if they can get it to the scale point where it's profitable without advertisers, then we all win.
Oh man, except for the advertisers.
Yeah, except for them. They'll have to market a different way.
They will.
Product placements inside the
like
the actual shows that we watch.
Like in all of the Transformer movies, right? They're like notorious, the Transformer movies, for like product placements in every single one of them. Michael Bay.
And I'm shaving right now with Dollar Shave Club. And
yeah, exactly. They open the door, it's the package sitting there. Gosh. The one thing I do like HBO has this Disney, I think actually probably almost all of them have it now, where you can set up the profiles, and you can set up the kids' profiles, and you can lock them. Mm-hmm. So like my kids, they get access. I log into it, I select their profile, and they actually can't switch profiles because they have to put in a password to switch the profiles. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing that's interesting when you think about the different like age groups and what that looks like. Because you could have 3 that end up owning the whole space. I keep going outside of entertainment though, because entertainment, you're absolutely correct. They've been in it the longest. It doesn't end there though. And Prime, I mean, they're not going anywhere. In fact, I had Prime Video on my thing for a while. And then I was like, oh man, there's nothing good here. Maybe I should cancel it. And I was like, oh wait, hold on. No, it's actually attached to all of Prime. I'm not going to cancel it. But if it had just been that, I may have, because the content wasn't that great at the time.
It's the streaming service that you just get because you don't get Amazon for the Prime Video service. You get it for 2-day shipping and all that other kind of stuff. And then you just kind of get this other service on top of it.
They're totally waiting to just do the banner pops up like the product you saw on the show.
Click here. Yes, they could do that today if they wanted to. I am really super curious on how it's going to affect all industries. I really, really am. Like, how does this affect construction? How does this affect salons? How does this affect like gaming? Well, actually gaming, there's subscriptions in gaming already. You just look at all the different industries, and how does this, 5-10 years from now, how does it affect every single one of them? Because chances are, for the handful that it hasn't affected them yet, it will, right? I don't think anyone's going to be able to stay away from it long term.
Well, does it turn into a lot like Amazon Prime? I mean, Walmart.com has their subscription now. We get all our groceries from Walmart. It's not the best produce, so they're not going to sponsor us. But the fact that it shows up at my door is wonderful. Are they going to go and get Dollar Shave Club? Are they going to go and get all these other things? So if it's, products and those sort of things that you need, hey, it's either Amazon or Walmart, your choice. Is it going to boil down into 2 or 3 primary offerings?
I think we're going to see more of, so I take a step back and kind of think, what does this mean for like all the local businesses here, like the hair salons, right? What does a subscription look like for them? And then what does that look like on a long enough time horizon? And I think at the end of it, it's really no different than what they should be doing today. Like if you're a really successful hair salon, as an example, what should you be doing every single time that somebody's done getting a haircut? Scheduling the next appointment. And I mean, that's all it basically needs to be, is what is the subscription that I know every 4 weeks I'm going to go in and I'm going to get a haircut. And it's going to be this cost, and I spread it out over the entire month or the entire year, whatever it is. Right. And maybe it's a little bit more and I get these products and they run out, or whatever that looks like. But that's nothing different than just ensuring that we have repeat business with the customers that are already coming in. It's just now renaming it, rebranding it. So I don't know, maybe it's just those who move to that and really focus on the repeat business more is going to capture more market share, capture more wallet share, and they're likely going to outlast the competitor down the street. So there will be, a form of consolidation by others going out of business. And there's, 1 or 2 hair subscription services to go to. I think maybe that's the logical kind of conclusion of where this goes, is those that are really good in business are going to continue to win and beat out those that aren't really good at business.
Yeah, I like your salon example, because I'm thinking of a few right now, and really all you're doing is putting a system in place to reduce the work of repeat business. And assuming the sale while you do it. Right?
Totally.
And so how do you go about actually implementing that? In fact, now that I think about it, I have a chiropractor who's working on building a model like that. It's this much a month, and come on in whenever you feel like you need it.
I would do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
I would do that in a heartbeat.
We're seeing that. My wife actually just went to the chiropractor and they just enrolled their membership thing, and she's now a member, going to be going more frequently, because it's, it's part of it, right? I mean, that's exactly right.
And you have to look at the very last piece, which is I go back to automation and human capital required. So for 6 years now, 6 years, Uber has been doing their best to, originally they were partnering with Google. I'm not sure if they still are or not, but they had been partnering with Google early on to get driverless cars, because their biggest issue was drivers, which is why they're not profitable. Like to this day, Uber's not profitable. They've yet to be on a net basis profitable ever. And it's because of the human capital required and all those kind of things. I'm like, you think about, a few of us have Teslas, and it would be, I wasn't calling you out. I was just going to let it ride.
Yeah, I can get in my car today.
So you think about the driverless vehicle, and you take that car and you say, okay, you're going to pick up people, and it picks up the person. And some of this has actually already taken place. There's certain places where you have driverless cars as like an Uber service now. And they go, right? They pick up. And then you think about like grocery delivery. What does that look like? Where you could technically send a car, the trunk opens up automatically. They come in, they put the groceries in the trunk closes automatically. It drives to your spot, opens up, you take the groceries out, and now that car goes and does its next job type thing. And it's interesting to see, again, where industries are going when it comes to removing humans. And what does that mean for the workplace? Because profitability, you have to get there. And increasing repeat business and decreasing costs, or increasing average sale, would probably be the third one, right? Which is what we see a lot of, increase in prices or add this new bundle type thing. I'm super curious where the majority of the workforce will actually be in a few years' time. How much is taken over by robots? How much is taken over by autonomous anything?
And I guess my question would be, which of those tools do we already have access to that we aren't using? When I look at it, we were just talking about a hair salon, right? And the whole problem is getting them on the schedule for the next one. Well, if you did a subscription model, all of a sudden you don't have to worry about that. You get paid whether they come in or not. So how do you schedule them? Well, all three of us use HubSpot scheduling. What what if you just had one that was just a cut and color, a full hairdo, whatever it is you need at different time lengths, and your hairstylist just had a HubSpot. You just go to the meetings.hubspot.com/Carter-Krei for a free business consult. And then you just go through that, and all of a sudden you have access to schedule your haircut right there. Super easy.
Well, you make it even easier than that. And you sign up once and it's the same time every, fourth Tuesday or whatever it is. And now you never even have to think about it. And it's always on the calendar. And yeah, whether you show up or not, you're paying for it. And think of, let's say the average hairstylist sees, I don't know, 10, 20 people a day. I have no idea what the actual number is, but however many it is, how much time is spent at their cash register collecting the payment, chatting with them, getting them scheduled for the next one, if that's part of the process. And if all of a sudden all of that's cut out, could you add an extra person in there? Now all of a sudden you've got the ability to increase your business by that percentage simply because you automated things.
So it seems pretty easy to talk about how to do that, but what would be the resistances to doing that? I mean, is it mainly cultural? Is it people not wanting to go out and have it automated? Is that the primary thing? And is it, to go back to the generational thing with kids that don't even want driver's license, does that kind of eliminate some of that resistance just through workforce change? I mean, if you had a service that sent a car to pick you up to go to get your haircut on Thursdays and then come back home,
would there be less resistance?
Yeah.
He is deep in thought right now and completely frozen.
Yeah, there we go.
I do believe that reducing that resistance, whether it be the resistance to change or the resistance to say yes, having that focus as a business it's an interesting point. If you start to outline, you go, okay, we're going to go do this thing, whatever it is, our subscription-based, membership-based thing. What are all the resistant points? Mm-hmm. What are all the reasons why someone would be hesitant? Because I'll tell you, right, I look at it almost like the gym, right? They say that, gym is a membership, and the reason why most people don't actually use it is because the hardest part is actually just driving to the gym, right? It's the hardest part. Once you're there, you're good. If I knew that there was a vehicle that was coming to pick me up at that time, like at the same time every day to take me to the gym, I would feel obligated to get in that vehicle.
Yeah. And to take that the next step, people have already done that by doing these at-home gyms that they have, I forget the name of it, but the cycle that has the
Peloton.
Yeah. Peloton's done that. And other places have done that. The biggest resistance to people using it, which I guess would maintain average number of transactions, keep them loyal and honest and bought into your program by not just taking their money for nothing, right? They found the answer for that, which is this whole, no, do it at your home. We'll be there with you. Not really though.
No, but and they added in the classes to make it feel like a community. So you did feel kind of like you were not isolated, even though you were isolated, and you were still part of something like slightly larger.
Which opens it up to that product ladder model again, to say, you want in the upper class, you want in with the people that actually show up. Here's this one. If you want those to show up 50% of the time, it costs less or whatever. You can even do a freemium model. Buy the bike, do what you want.
You could do a freemium model. Freemium's a whole thing we didn't even talk about. I mean, you think and for those that don't know the term, Carter, how would you describe freemium?
Oh, it's a membership you don't pay for.
Exactly. And you're still getting value. And for a lot of these businesses, they have a freemium options just to get people in the door.
That's Prime Video, right? Like they have some stuff that's available for free. You don't pay anything, but you see all the good stuff you could get if you upgraded. And the other thing that does is it reduces that amount of people that drop off, that churn, and it increases the rate that they come back. Because maybe I don't pay the full rate, but I'm going to go to the free one until I have the money to come back again.
Totally. You keep them engaged.
Mm-hmm. Keep them bought in.
Keep them bought in. Absolutely. Which has to increase your overall retention of members, of subscribers, right? Because you may lose money, but you're not losing the subscriber, and they're going to come back at some point.
As long as you have it systemized to where there's little or no cost, what's the, it's not costing you anything to give them access to a few shows you already own,
All right, Carter, when you think about subscriptions, last question, what's the, pardon me, what's the one thing that you think like every person watching this needs to know if they were like, I think I'm going to go put a subscription in place for my business? What's the one thing you think they need to know?
Make sure what you're offering the subscription for is something that you understand completely. What is your profit margin? What is your cost of acquisition? And what is your total cost to run it? What is the system you have behind it? Making sure you have all that down so that the work is getting them into the subscription program, not running the subscription program, because you're running two jobs at that point.
Yeah, the time it takes to retain has to be automated. Awesome. Well, for Carter and for Tanner, who lost power, I'm Dr. Michael Hartley. Make it a great rest of your day.